Hello.
Hey there.
I hope I'm at the right place. All right. So I've just made y'all both co-hosts. And the recording looks like it's going, and you've got Kevin here too. So y'all are welcome to get started when you want to. I am gonna turn off the chime sound, just so it doesn't pick up in the recording.
Okay.
But y'all are all set to go. So I think everyone has the right permissions. Yep, one last
Okay.
one.
Let me just make
Co-host.
sure I can share
Co-hosts. All
screen.
four of you are co-hosts. And yeah, when people start streaming in, you're welcome to join. All right, you can use me in the chat, but I'm monitoring all three rooms, so I just want to make sure
Okay.
it was launched and all good to go.
Cool. Thank you.
If you need me, chat me.
What's your name again?
My name's Oscar.
Okay. Thanks, Oscar. Okay. How's everybody doing? Can you hear me? Great.
Yep.
Anybody else want to test sound or anything?
Hello.
Working.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I guess I'll check mine too.
Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to look at this notes document while I'm sharing screen. So,
If it's helpful, I can document notes in the document since you probably won't be able to access it or see it during the
yeah,
presentation.
I'm going to pull it up on, I have an iPad here, but I can't really type on an iPad.
Mhm.
But I can,
And would you like me to share the notes document with everyone in the
yeah,
chat?
yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great. Just share it
Mhm.
at the top and maybe share it again a little later in case people show up late, and just encourage, I'll encourage folks to um, take notes. I guess I'm gonna start letting people in. Looks like, yeah, why not? Can't see anything. Participants. Okay. I guess I'll let Kelsey or Kevin or Marika, can one of you all monitor the wait room and just let people in? Okay. I'll stop looking at that then. We need like waiting room music. See what I can do from my phone.
Olha que coisa mais linda, mais cheia de graça. Ela, menina que vem e que passa, doce balanço, caminho do mar. Moça do corpo dourado, do sol de Ipanema, o seu balançado é mais que um poema. É a coisa mais linda que eu já vi passar. Ah, porque estou tão sozinho. Ah, porque tudo é tão triste.
All right. We'll go ahead and start chatting a bit before we go through our presentations. Just want to welcome everybody who's already here to our roundtable discussion, graduate assistance in creative technology spaces. And maybe one thing we can do is, those of you who are here, go ahead and either drop in the chat, or if you feel comfortable going on mic, go ahead and introduce yourselves to us and to the group. And then us, the presenters, will introduce ourselves a little after that, once maybe everybody's shown. And chat is totally fine if you just want to say who you are, where you're from, and what your connection is to the topic. That'd be great. But you should be able to just turn your mic on if you do want to talk too. Hi, Erica. Thanks for sharing. Hello, Darcy. Thank you for sharing. Hi, Leanne. Hi, Sonia. Hope I'm pronouncing that properly. Hi, Rachel. Okay. I think that is everybody. We'll see if we hopefully add some more folks. But the way that we've organized this, we had a little bit of guidance on structure, but not a lot. So we decided to make a series of small presentations and to interweave those with some points of discussion, and where we'll ask you some questions and we'll have space for you to ask questions. But also look forward to hearing comments, questions, ideas at any point during this roundtable. Feel free to chime in on chat or to go on mic whenever you feel comfortable doing so. All right, but I'll get started. We're gonna go through our slides, and I'm gonna start out. My name is Adam Rogers, and I am the Learning Innovation Librarian at NC State University Libraries. I guess we have a table of contents here, so we're gonna do context and logistics. Then each of our graduate assistants from NC State Libraries who are here will do reflections and presentations on their work. then we'll have more time for questions at the end. And gratitude, which is always good. So I'm the Learning Innovation Librarian at NC State University Libraries as part of the studios. My colleagues here, Kelsey, Kevin, and Marika, are all our graduate extension assistants, all currently working within the libraries and the studios as well. They're going to introduce themselves a little more thoroughly later on in the presentation, so we'll let them do that then. We did a little bit of this. If anybody else has joined, please share in the chat who you are, and if anyone has graduate students working with them or are a graduate student, please let us know in the chat as well. So we're looking to share other perspectives as well as our own. We do have a kind of community note-taking document, which we'll share in the chat if we haven't already. So feel free to hop in there, and you should have edit access to add notes in there. But I'll kick us off. So just give some context on this discussion topic, where it comes from. So in our creative technology spaces at the NC State University Libraries, we have currently 3 graduate assistantships that came out of 2 really great partnerships on campus with academic departments. And those were the Communication, Rhetoric, and Digital Media program, which is a PhD program within the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And then also our second partnership with the College of Design, and started out with the Art and Design program, but also expanded to our graphic design program as well. And these partnerships have sustained assistantships collaboratively formed with them and the libraries since 2015. So that you can see on the bottom right here, my experience has been opening spaces within our libraries, 2 maker spaces, which have been consolidated into 1 makerspace now, and then also a new space called the Innovation Studio. And the assistantships are in the Makerspace, Innovation Studio, and Digital Media Lab, which you'll hear a lot more about. And I'm going to share a little bit of the logistics. I won't share a lot because we don't have a ton of time, and happy to follow up with anyone who's interested in the kind of nitty-gritty details here, wants help doing advocacy for these kind of positions, or just wondering what goes into forming them, getting them done on campus. Of course, I can only speak to our campus really, but hopefully there's some similarities. And our university, NC State, so we are a land-grant university and have an extension program within the university. And I think that's where these positions come from, is our positions are defined as graduate extension assistants. So those are alongside a graduate teaching assistant or a graduate research assistant program. And how those are defined is that they're an extension of the work of the academic department. So in this case, the CRDM program I mentioned, or in the College of Design, where the students in their role as GEA are doing extension work for their department. And then from our perspective in the library, that extension work is taking place and helping the library. But really informing these positions from the outset, we found that it was really a collaboration and a partnership of mutual benefit. So the library gets a lot out of these programs by having really talented and capable graduate students working for us in our spaces. The academic programs benefit by being able to have funded positions for students joining their programs. And that funding in some cases is paid by the library. It's also somewhat paid by the graduate school, but they don't have to pay that from their academic department in the same way that they do for a teaching assistantship or a research assistantship. And then the benefits of the students, I'll let our students speak to that later, but primarily it's good work experience, it's building collaborative relationships within the libraries and the people that the library serves that hopefully supports their research and supports their growth and job skills and training and helps them move in new directions. The funding, currently there's a stipend paid by the library that works out to $20,000 a year at 20 hours a week. There's tuition and healthcare paid for by the graduate school through this program on the top right called the Graduate Student Support Plan. And I'll have to say, as a library staff, I didn't know much about any of all this stuff before starting these positions, and I continue to learn as the years go on. Folks in academic departments who have, legions of graduate students have a lot more knowledge of these details than I do, and I've learned from them in the process. And like a little caveat that this is how it works on our campus, may or may not work the same way on your campus. So I mentioned this idea of mutual benefit, and when I started out in this work of creating assistantship, I was sort of initially coming from the place of like, well, we're a library, NC State University Libraries. If you know anything about our work, you know that we are kind of an ambitious library. We keep adding new programs, building new spaces, doing new things, and we don't keep adding staff to grow and to serve those programs. And so we needed to look, to new places for expertise, labor, talent. And I knew just through NC State's programs that there's a ton of talent and expertise on campus. And I really thought of this as a way of bridging and not just seeking labor, but also seeking collaboration and outreach with academic departments on campus. And I still have this idea of how can we do more of this, like bridging our spaces with the academic departments on campus. And the students here are really serving in that role of connecting the libraries, connecting the makerspace, the digital media lab, Innovation Studio really deeply with the programs that they are a part of, with the students and faculty in their departments, with the work of that department. And all of these other things you see on the slide here are additional benefits that come through that, and I'll let the students again share more specifically what those are. So I wanted to stop now and ask, do you have graduate students? Do you have graduate positions in your spaces? How are yours similar or different than how we've laid out ours are at NC State? And then also we'll open up now if you have any questions about what I've shared so far. And again, please feel free to hop on mic if you have a question you want to ask. Chat is fine too. I see a hand raised. Erica, please go ahead. Do I need to unmute? I'm sorry if I'm in control of your mute. That's not my intention, but
I think Erica is having tech issues,
okay.
but I see that Leanne has a hand up.
Yeah, Leanne, please go ahead, and hopefully Erica can join in a second.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we don't have a formal like graduate position like y'all do, but we hire graduate students. So we have an MLS program at Indiana University. So I try to hire like librarians in training if I can. And they do pay a little bit better than a lot of the other library positions. But I'm really drawn to your ability to give students benefits. I mean, to me, that's amazing. We don't really have a partnership with the graduate school in that way, but I love that idea. I think it's great to be able to offer that to your students. So I'm very jealous.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we don't have a library program at NC State. We have one up the road at UNC Chapel Hill. And we've had graduate students from that program work for us over the years, but haven't had them in formal assistantships, as far as I know. Well, there's been a few in our special collections department, because there is a similar GEA program within that as well. Yeah, I think as far as like getting to that next level of support, I think you know, we really did some advocacy work within the libraries of, you know, this is a way for us to you know, have these really talented folks come and work with us longer term. You know, we have a stability to where we have our students stay with us more than 1 year usually. And there's a big benefit from that. You know, I'm sure, as you know, having students work longer, they take on more responsibility. And with a formal assistantship, we also feel like we can give them a lot more responsibility. And in the case for us, financially, the library does not pay the bill for the tuition and benefits. It goes through the graduate school. It's if they have a position, we do have to do a lot of paperwork to formalize it, but it's not an added cost, which is a big benefit. All right, I also see Eric, I see you've shared a chat. Thank you for that. Over the years, we've had grad residents. They work on a project of their own design and we support. Yeah, so yeah, our program has space for that, I'd say. I'd let the students speak to that of doing their own projects and research and shaping their own work within our program. But it's definitely more weighted towards doing the work of our programs within our spaces. Yeah, and Darcy, I see you're hoping to get a shared position. You know, if there's any way I can help with that, thinking about the logistics, please let me know. Does anyone have any questions now, or we'll move on to our next little section? All right, handing things over to Kevin now.
Yes, hello. So my name is Kevin. I'm the GEA for the Innovation Studio at Hill Library, and I'll explain a little bit what the Innovation Studio is in a minute. Officially, I've been in this position since August, but I did start working with the library in this space in May of this year. So I've been in the space quite a while, and currently I'm getting my master's of graphic and experience design through NC State, and I'm in my final year, so I'll be graduating in May. Can we go to the next slide, Adam? So in my work in the Innovation Studio showcases creative and innovative work of NC State students and faculty. So our exhibits are done through a projection process of we have tables and we have projectors and 3D sensors that can sense hand placement on the table. So you're able to interact with the interfaces on the table to look through students' work. And usually these works come from partnerships outside of the library, so usually classes or other library spaces or individuals that come to us. We've had master's theses presented here. So it's just a different way of exhibiting student work in a space. And so a lot of what I do is helping to organize and prepare those exhibits. I help to get all the work documented, get all the work formatted for the space, get all the text in, make sure everything is looking good graphically. I also help to assist and organize workshops that we hold in the space. In the past, there was futures thinking workshops. This past year, we've held twice now a workshop on generative AI art, which is a lot of fun. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Along with space improvements has been also one of my projects here is I've helped with some e-boards that we have in the graphics on those and making use of the space in new ways. And we're also currently working on getting new projectors installed, which I'm not responsible for, but it is fun to be a part of. So the next slide. So the project I wanted to talk about a little bit that I had a huge hand in right when I started working here was with a class. They were doing a project that was AI collaborations on science fiction. So the students in the class used generative AI to both write science fiction stories and generate images for those stories. And we were on the generative image part of that project. So they came to us with their stories written, and we held a workshop for them to teach them about how to use Midjourney. That was the platform we decided to use. And at this time, I decided to move outside of our typical content management system that we have for the space and push the idea that we use the projectors in a new way. So I created new layouts for the tables that were projected so that the students could get more information on Midjourney. They could see example images, example prompts, things like that. And then once this workshop had ended, my job then became processing all of that work into an exhibit that could be shown in the space through our content management system. And the images that are in the lower left and upper right are two examples of images generated by students using Midjourney that then went into exhibits for their work. And then my last slide, just on the benefits, challenges, takeaways of working in this space as a GEA. Just working here over the past couple of months, I've gained a lot of technical knowledge in working in this type of exhibit space, especially one that is so reliant on technology and an emerging technology at that, with the use of the IR sensors that we have. Also helping prepare workshops for classes in a library setting is a new thing for me. I used to be a TA, but workshops is a little bit different. Collaborating with library and faculty to create these exhibits is something new. And then just challenging this technology to use it in new ways. Seeing how we can make use of this idea of projectors mounted on a ceiling that points down at a table. What are the other ways that you can use that outside of the pre-existing management system that we already have? And for me, this is important because my thesis work as a master's student is being informed by my work here at the library. My current topic of research is based around informal learning in exhibit spaces and how emerging technology helps facilitate that in new ways. So I'm combining design, pedagogy, and technology, and I'm able to do this with my job and in my classes at the same time. And then I had a bit of a discussion question, which kind of feeds my thesis a little bit of what role does a library play in making use of innovative technology, if any of your libraries do have spaces where you're trying to make use of innovative technologies.
Thanks, Kevin. So we'll give some space to let folks answer that again, if you want, on mic or on the chat. And also, if you have any questions for Kevin about his work, it's a good chance for that as well.
Yes. It is a well-equipped space for working that is open to students and encouraged as open to students. We actively encourage students to come to us with ideas for using the space.
Yeah, and expensive is relative too. Like when we're using Midjourney for generating AI art, you know, it's not all that expensive, but it is a subscription-based tool, and it was a lot of work for us to make that accessible to students in the class and for project use outside of the class. Kevin supported that work as well, making a like a kiosk computer where they could use that tool in the space. Thanks for your comment, Erica. Yeah, we've found that the AI art and using Midjourney, and that might not be the tool we use in a few months, but it's what we've used in the past 6 months or so. It's not free. We do have a subscription to it, and it's accessed through Discord, which makes it a little complicated. But it's just and Kevin, maybe you can speak to this too, but it's sort of like you get instant results, and you see some of the photos of the students using it on the previous pages, like just their faces, like they're just really excited to use it. And yeah, Kevin, I don't know if you want to share more about that experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to give students access to this technology that they don't normally have. Midjourney is not usually free, but OpenAI's DALL-E is free. You're able to get accounts through OpenAI to use ChatGPT and DALL-E for free based on like credits. Midjourney just has it has a style that's really different. It has its own like way of creating images that's really interesting. And by paying for the subscription, we can give the students a more exclusive access to using a technology like that works a lot faster and generates much higher quality images than DALL-E might be able to on a free version.
And thanks for sharing those links in the chat.
And if you have an Adobe subscription, they just added in Adobe Firefly is a new AI art generator that I think, if you have a Creative Cloud subscription, you are free to use that as well. I haven't tried it yet. It's pretty new.
And all of this stuff is changing so rapidly that but it's still been really fun, and I think it's been great for the instructors that we've worked with, that we've been able to make this accessible as a workshop in the classroom in the past few months.
The comment about stock photo looking materials is interesting because I found out yesterday that Adobe's AI is only based on Adobe stock photo, whatever their stock photo service is called. They only generate images that are scraped from their own stock photos, which is probably why they look like stock photos. We do not run into data privacy issues using Midjourney because the classes that come in are thinking critically about the use of AI to generate images. So that's usually a topic that's discussed in the class beforehand that they then come to us, and we either also have that discussion in the workshop or they like have already had it and they kind of understand those ideas.
The way we've worked it out, we're all sharing the use of one library Discord as opposed to having them using a personal account on Discord. I don't know if that answers the question, but that's the way we've made it. So if you see in the photo, they're all huddled around a computer, which we actually use a Chrome base, Chrome OS, kind of iMac style computer. It's kind of a ye old internet kind of experience of everybody gather around the computer and see what this internet does for us, kind of experience, was just fun and funny. But yeah, we're just kind of working our way around the like licensing and access issues by just being logged in on a Discord. And yeah, so we don't really use much of Discord other than it's just that's the way to access it. So they're just typing in their prompts and getting back their images. All right, thanks y'all for the discussion. I think we should move on, and I think Marika is next.
Hello, my name is Marika Smotherman, and I'm the GEA for the Digital Media Lab, which is located at Hunt Library as well as Hill Library. I've been the GEA since August of 2022, and my program is the Communication, Rhetoric, and Digital Media program. I'm a PhD student in my third year. You can move to the next slide. Thank you. So in the Digital Media Lab, we essentially offer so many different media making tools for NC State students as well as the campus community as a whole. So we have Adobe Creative Suite installed on all of the computers. We have MIDI keyboards. tablets for people who are doing digital art and design. We have Serato turntables for those who are interested in learning how to DJ, 4K cameras, and a green screen studio. And that's not all, there is a lot more. In the library, and I guess how it relates to my program. So I'm serving as an instructional as well as a technical support person for the libraries as well as our partners. I engage in a lot of community outreach and building engagement between the library as well as other organizations on campus, including my own program. And then my personal research centers on Black women's engagements with different forms of technology. And you can move to the next slide, Adam. So a typical work week looks like staffing at Hunt or Hill Library. So I actually work as a consultant in the digital media lab. I help people who want to come in and use the tools that we have. I assist with tech consultations. I've been developing Make Media instructional projects for the undergraduate student staffers that we have. So you can see in the middle there a bunch of stickers that they recently created. The idea was for them to use the tools that we have in the digital media lab and then to also visit the makerspace so that they can kind of get acclimated to both spaces. I'll say a lot of the undergraduate staffers actually work in multiple spaces within the library, which is really cool and interesting. I also host Fem Beat Making Nights, which is a part of the Fem Space programming. I do making space event planning, so that's a library group that I'm a part of that hosts their own events for inclusivity. And then I make my own media. So you can see in the upper right corner is a design that I made for the Black Research Symposium, which was hosted by the African American Cultural Center on our campus. And then in the bottom left corner is a collage that I created for the Envisioning Urban Futures event, which was hosted at Hunt Library. And then in the bottom right corner is me actually doing a talk for a program, AV Geeks, where we view archival footage and then have discussions based around that. And you can move to the next slide. So the key project that I wanted to talk about is Fem Beat Making. So Fem Beat Making Nights take place once a month, the last Thursday of every month in the Digital Media Lab at Hill Library. Actually in the middle there, you can see a picture of us. We took a field trip to the NC State Live performance with this amazing artist, Fatimata Diawara. So that was really fun for us to get out of the digital media lab and to actually see someone who is a femme beat maker and artist. Femme Space also includes Femme Game Night and then Femme Making Night, which Kelsey hosts. And the purpose of Femme Beat Making Nights is to center people who identify as femme or non-binary, to create space for those who are identifying as femme in spaces where they're traditionally underrepresented. You can also see in the bottom right corner is a little drawing that one of our undergraduate staffers made at the last Fem Beat Making Night. So I thought that was cool to include. And then the video is just us actually using the Serato turntable at the last Fem Beat Making Night. And this is a really fulfilling project for me to be a part of. Adam, you can move to the next slide, I think. Okay, so I feel like I went through that fast. I always talk very fast. Maybe I was talking slow. But the question that I have is, what initiatives and strategies do you use to ensure diversity and inclusion within media and technology spaces on your campus? And it seems like a lot of people do have media spaces on their campuses. So I would love to hear about that. And then if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thanks, Marika. One thing while we're waiting for questions to roll in, I'd like to just call out like the relationship that Marika spoke to between our graduate assistants and our undergraduate students is something that's a really great part of having these positions within our spaces. There's a lot of connection and mentorship and support, and I'm sure learning that happens both ways through those connections. Anybody want to speak to this question on mic or on chat? Maybe people are typing their answers. All right, thanks for sharing on chat here. Got some answers. See a lot of emphasis on hiring, and just want to echo that that's just incredibly important in these spaces.
Yeah, and I can also speak to the comment about private workshops and those not being attended. I will say that with Fem Beat Making Night, we've had at least one night where nobody showed up. So it is something that's kind of had to grow over time. And we've had to figure out different ways to promote it so that more people know about it. But we have found that once people learn about these programs, that they seem to be very invested in attending. So we have a lot of return participants, people who bring in their friends and people that they know and tell them about the programs that we're offering. So I think it's just a matter of building community, no matter how small it starts off. But yeah, it's not a very large or greatly attended program, but it's something where we definitely have seen the impact on the people who attend. So that's what I love about it.
All right, thanks you all for your participation there. We'll move on to our next section here, and that's Kelsey.
Hi, everyone. So I am Kelsey Dufresne, and I am the Makerspace Graduate Extension Assistant, and I have been in that role since August of 2022, and I'll be finishing that role in May of 2024. Before that, I worked in the library for a couple years with the Open Knowledge Center and the Data Visualization Services Department. So that kind of helped me segue into this role a little bit. And like Marika, I'm also I'm a candidate now in the Communication Rhetoric and Digital Media program, which definitely informs a lot of the making work that occurs in the makerspace. And on the next slide, the makerspace, I saw that many of you do have makerspaces in your libraries, and I'd love to hear about what they look like, what resources you have, what tools and not tools you have. Our makerspace is very exciting, and there's all sorts of different materials in there, and it feels like it's changing all the time. But within the makerspace, our specific makerspace and library is a place to explore emerging technologies of making. That's our kind of official stance of what we are. And we have materials and resources like 3D printers and filament for those 3D printers at no cost to students. We have a lot of prototyping kits, including Raspberry Pis, all sorts of soldering things, and batteries for students. We have sewing machines as well as support for hand sewing and hand embroidery. We have a laser cutter, which is our most heavy duty machine and the one most likely to catch on fire, as well as many other machines that range from very high tech, like our digital embroidery machine and our vacuum former, to very low tech, like bracelet making and knitting and crocheting. So it's a wide array of things. But between my programmatic studies and library, I'm very focused on working in community and looking at the opportunities of making in community in places like the makerspace, but in other places throughout the library, beyond campus, and in our communities. And so for me, working as a GEA with the makerspace has been really wonderful because it's provided an opportunity of mentorship and professionalization that's very different than what grad students might receive from their professors or from more of their academic mentors. So especially for grad students that might be interested in any kind of industry job, having a position like this is really advantageous because it provides hands-on praxis and experience. And so for me, my dissertation is actually focusing on historically underrepresented and undercelebrated forms of making. And usually those are that which are like most typically feminized. And so the 3D printers are really cool, but I'm trying to draw attention to how we have looms and knitting supplies as well, because those are both really wonderful and really credible forms of knowledge making and production. And so on the next slide, my week, like Marika, I also staff the space alongside our student staffers, all of which are undergrad students from all over the different disciplines of our college and university. And so for me, because of this, my work week looks very different every single week and every single month. I staff the space regularly, but I also help primarily with event and programming. So if there's an event happening in relation to the makerspace, or the makerspace has a hand in any kind of event, odds are that I will likely be there and be involved. I do and lead a lot of the pop-ups to support student wellness and support student making. The makerspace has developed a series of sporadic and randomly occurring pop-ups. And so these occur pretty unannounced and in the evening time to provide kind of like a brain break for our students as they're studying and working in the library. So this past week, I did a pop-up on shrinky dinks, and I felt really old because no one knew what a shrinky dink was. But so we did shrinky dink making. I also, because as we have mentioned Discord, we all communicate with our fellow staffers throughout Discord to kind of help answer questions, help provide solutions to things. Like we have a Discord channel just for our 3D printers and discussing when they break and how to fix them. So helping our student staffers remotely and all over the campus as they are helping each other is very important. I do a lot of Zoom meetings such as this and live streams and videoing. I got to do a one-take workshop with a fellow librarian, and for a few hours we were able to do something called collage and collaging. And this is something that our library is doing, where we're doing one-take workshops to emphasize different forms of making while also talking about the role of making and different spaces and services within our library. And I'm also part of the Making Space and Fem Space event initiatives within the library. Making Space focuses on creating space intentional space for underrepresented folks in the STEM fields, and I'll talk about that a little bit more momentarily. And Fem space, as Marika was saying, is likewise providing intentionality and space for folks that are femme identifying and allies to be able to occupy these spaces, because historically there's not always enough room for everyone. And so these events have been really wonderful. So doing a lot of events and programming, also with crafting resilience, which alongside wellness is another event series that I have been able to help with. And quite importantly, crafting resilience is focusing on the making forms of crafting. So making zines, making herbal tea, making slime. I am the one that's responsible for teaching watercoloring and knitting. And that's been a really rewarding series where we have lots and lots of students come for hours just to craft, and it's really beautiful. And on the next slide, I wanted to emphasize a little bit more of what I do, because also a lot of what I do is really rooted in making. So sometimes that's making prototypes for classes that are coming to use the makerspace, such as creating an autoethnographic passport and driver's license, as one of our classes on campus was doing, or making buttons for pride walks on campus, or practicing knitting. So a lot of what I do is truly making, which is quite lovely. And on the next slide, going back to making space, my favorite thing that I have been able to do as a GEA is inviting Jackie Morin, who is the founder and owner of Wonder Puff, which is a cotton candy store in Durham. I was able to invite her to come speak about what it means to be an entrepreneur and what it means to be a woman of color and what it means to be someone that makes cotton candy as a living. And so she came to our primarily an engineering campus in our research library and made cotton candy, and it was so amazing. And the whole library smelled like cotton candy, and people were just flooding in, and it was absolutely fantastic. And so not only was she able to discuss her story and her experiences with her business and her life, but she was also able to bring in a form of making that we don't ever really see in libraries or on academic campuses. And she also, after teaching folks how to make cotton candy, she then led students through a meditation hour where they then made self-love jars. So it was also another fantastic opportunity for wellness and connection and community with our students. And if you're ever interested in buying cotton candy, I highly recommend Wonder Puff. But a discussion question I have for you all in relationship to what all of us have discussed is, what role does your library play in community engagement, student wellness, and creative making? And I see Erica just put a question. As you, Kelsey, are teaching many of these workshops, what is the plan, or is there a plan to continue these types of events after you graduate? I have been thinking about that a lot, actually, because we will be hiring and starting the process for hiring my replacement very soon. And there is no guarantee that they will want to facilitate or engage in the same forms. Their priorities may be different than mine in terms of like what their dissertation is, what their research is, and what they want to use their GEA position for. So they don't have to continue these on, but because the Fem making nights in the makerspace, I've been able to collaborate with many of our student staffers. They will likely continue it on, which will be fantastic. And I think because it's part of the broader Fem space series, that it will hopefully definitely continue on, because I think there's a great need. But I would love to think that these things are all going to continue, but because I've been working in partnership with people that'll be here after I have graduated. So I think that continuity helps, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a great question, though. I mean, one of the wonderful things about these positions is that you all have been able to bring your individuality and your own focus and energy to the programs and direct that, and you know, in some ways it's you know, it's not replaceable, not continuable after you've moved on, but you know, some of these programs will certainly continue with the work of other collaborators in the library, outside of the library. certainly the focus on wellness and the collaborations that Kelsey's really been leading and around wellness on campus and wellness in making are things that the library is really prioritizing, continuing.
I am so happy to hear that so many of your libraries do wellness activities. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. I need to know what a Sharpie mug is, though. Oops, sorry. Was not intending to skip slides.
We have 3 Cricut makers in the makerspace, and while the makerspace provides a lot of supplies at no cost to students, I will say that we also have to put slight limitations on that because sticker making is very, very popular, and we fly through sticker paper and button making supplies beyond anything else. So we limit our sticker paper usage to 2 sheets of paper per day. But I mean, students can make as many stickers as they want on that, but that is probably one of the top 5 most popular things that people make in the makerspace. And thank you for sharing the link for the Sharpie mugs, Leanne.
And I'll also say it's been fairly recent, but our makerspace has really collaborated with our development department of the library to get donations to support free supplies for students within the space. We just completed a successful crowdfunding campaign in the past month, and all that money will go towards continuing to supply things that directly go into the hands of students, whether that's sticker paper or 3D printer filament or all the supplies that we purchase for the crafting resilience workshops and things like that. And that's been really great. And the wonderful thing about development in the makerspace is that a little money can go a long way when you're buying craft supplies, and it also is very direct to see where it goes. And we have wonderful photos of a lot of these workshops that smiling creative students making cool stuff, so resonates. Thank you all for sharing your own projects and your spaces. Those are really cool to hear about. So I think we have 7 more minutes left. I made sort of a pretty generic concluding thoughts slide, but I don't know that it's really necessary since you've heard these wonderful stories of our students' work. I think one thing I didn't capture in here that I mentioned a second ago is just the individuality, the expertise, the ideas and creativity that all of these individual students have brought, and that the graduate assistant program in general brings to pushing our spaces in new directions, opening the boundaries of our spaces, and bringing their own realization of what the spaces can be. Is really wonderful. Yeah. But now's a good time if anybody else wants to chime in with questions or thoughts about what we've presented, or ideas for how graduate students might contribute in their spaces, or how, if you have any questions about sort of how they fit in any logistical way, or what's involved. I'm also happy to answer more logistical stuff offline, via email or however. Happy to talk through things. And our notes there have lots of links to different parts of our program. And Kelsey, we should add the Making Space link in there too. I think that's a great program to share with anybody who has a makerspace. That's been our program that's brought in lots of really wonderful makers and entrepreneurs and researchers over the years that have added really valuable perspectives to our program and exciting workshops to our program. And yeah, thanks, Kelsey.
Oh, Adam, there's a question about funding.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah, how does funding for the GAs work? Yeah. It's not through a grant, it's through our student worker budget, essentially. And the program, the graduate student support program, is part of the general graduate school approach to supporting students on campus. So that's what funds the tuition and benefits for our graduate assistants. The library pays the stipend, which is, from the same budget that we pay our student workers based on wages. Yeah. So I don't know enough about finances to know if that's the same across campuses or not. But that's how it works at NC State. Yeah, the logistics, supervision, scheduling. I mean, I think you can see from the presentations of our students here that they're very capable. They're very self-motivated, independent. So there's not a huge load, although it's a load to do any kind of supervision, and it is kind of a lot of work to do the paperwork. So we typically do our initial paperwork in May and June. And it can feel a little heavy at times because there's deadlines to hit. And it's really important that we hit those deadlines for the students to get funded properly. And so I take that very seriously. But then I'm waiting on other people for stuff sometimes, because we have paperwork that has to be signed by the advisor, the supervisor, the dean of the college, and all that. Thankfully, a lot of it's done through DocuSign remotely now, which is a lot better than it had been. Scheduling is pretty easy. We check in on that every now and then. The schedule, for the students who staff a space, it's actually, I think, really helpful to the scheduling of student worker shifts, because often these students have more availability in the daytime than our undergraduate students do. But we kind of keep an informal timesheet, because the assistantship is not a clock in, clock out role, which is really nice. Yeah, a lot of the supervision happens, very collaboratively. I think it's different than it is for undergraduates who are, who maybe haven't had much job experience. I think our graduate students have a lot more understanding of the academic environment and of, our goals and our needs. And I think, that's been my role in supervision is guiding, making sure I'm advocating for what the strategy of the programs is. But it's a very open space with these spaces, and the students all really realize that in great ways. Yeah, so the main thing is the paperwork, but I think that the benefit is so much that it's well worth that. And some of that we've handed off to other folks in the spaces, and I still am involved as the person who knows how to do all the paperwork. Yeah, happy to take any other questions too. I don't know if we need to get out of this space or not, but we can close it down in a minute here. The link to our notes here also has the slides. I think that'll be shared through the conference, but please take it down if you haven't already. If you're interested to see the slides after, or the links or the notes. Did want to say thank you to everyone for your participation and for spending your time with us. Really appreciate it, and hope you're inspired to find graduate students at your institutions to contribute to your programs, and really, I think it's clear how much that can add to your programs. And thanks so much to Kelsey, Marika, and Kevin for their contributions and all the work they do, and for being here to share about it. All right, I think I'll say goodbye now. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
And